So hello good people of the internet, this is Tommy Kelly and this is the Tommy Kelly podcast. And this week, and maybe every week depending on how this goes and how annoying it is, it's also the Tommy Kelly videocast or vidcast. Is that how they're called? Is that what it is? So basically I'm trying to work on my lighting and my film stuff, and I've put the vlog aside just for a moment because I'm going to be working on the 40 servants course, video course, which is basically just going to go through the grimoire from start to finish, that kind of layout of the grimoire, and talk about all the things and explain all the things from the 40 servants and how to use them and all that. So while I was setting up my lighting and testing stuff, goes, why not just test the stuff properly and do your podcast like this? So yeah, and the other thing I'm going to mix in with this is that it's the question and answers period, or the session is due at the moment for the September for the Patreons. So on Patreon, everyone who subscribes or is a member gets a chance to ask me a question about anything they want, and I make a video about it. So killing many birds with the one stone in this. So yeah, let's get into that. So, the first question comes from Cats, and they ask, what is the worst blowback you've experienced with practicing? I know an awful lot of people talk about magic blowing up in their face, and you know that they regret doing certain things, or you know they've done some sort of magic that ended up that if you know bit them in the ass or whatever. And I can't really say that's ever happened to me, but what did happen to me for a long while is I would get the exact opposite of what I magicked for. And there's a blog post I've made on Adventures in Woo about it if you want to know more about it. But roughly it was like, an example would be like if I was did magic for money, then I would immediately be worse off. You know, a bill would come in, an unexpected bill, or I'd lose money, or some sort of thing that would, rather than getting the extra money, it would be the exact opposite. Or if I wanted, you know, to increase sales, say, of my artwork or whatever, my artwork would decrease in sales, you know, dramatically. Like, so much so that it was definitely having an effect. Whatever magic I was doing was definitely doing something, but it was just doing the opposite of what I wanted. And I think what was going on there, in fact, I know what was going on there, was the whole kind of victim thing I was playing into. That whole victim role, that whole victim shadow that I've talked about a million times, where it was not only was it not good enough for me for magic not to work, you know, because that's what I had put myself at. Oh, magic doesn't work, it works for everyone else. That was key. It works for everyone else, but not for me. And in fact, not only does it not work for me, it makes things worse. You know, it makes things way worse. You know, if I want something and I magic for it, it makes it worse than what it was. And it was kind of the victim thing. What I was trying to like, look how bad it is for me. All of you people out there can, you know, magic all you want and get everything and all that. But when I magic, I get the worst. People suggested at the time that I, you know, do magic for shit things to happen in the hope then that good things. And I never actually did that because it just felt so wrong. But it did all bring up. It was part of the whole surface, bringing to the surface the whole victim thing that I had to go through, the victim playing and all that kind of thing. So very helpful for me looking back. At the time, not so much fun, but definitely, you know, the good thing about it was because I would kept saying, oh, magic doesn't work, but it was definitely working, just in the wrong direction, and I was the culprit, I was to blame. So blowback from magic, in that sense, no, it was me, you know, imposing myself on magic. But another thing that happens to me, and it's similar as well to this kind of victim thing mentality, but possibly a bit bigger than that, because it's something that's always happened to me, and it's happening now over the last couple of days, is that if I get stressed or anxious, or when, you know, particularly when I'm doing new things, everything starts breaking around me and things get way worse. And I'll give you an example, like when I was back and I was recording music and stuff like that, and we'd go into the studio with the band or whatever, immediately things would start to break. You know, the computers break. Back in the day, it was digital tape. You know, the DAT machines wouldn't work, the ADATs wouldn't work. There'd be something that would just stop working right at the time that we were going to use them and stuff like that. Just one example. And that would go into my own life when I was doing demos on my own 8-track and stuff like that. The 8-track would work absolutely fine if I was doing stuff for other people, but the minute that I started doing stuff for myself, it would stop working, or there'd be some fault, or the electricity would go off, or something would happen. Same with computers. I could do all day for other people, but as soon as I want to do something for myself, the computer would, act in a strange way. And I think I'm in my victim mentality. I always go that it was the universe out to get me, to make my life harder, to make everything, to really frustrate me, to anger me, and all that. Look at me, victim. Look, not only does the universe not gather its momentum behind me like I'm told it was, it actually makes things worse. So it's very similar to the other thing. But what I think it is I'll tell you exactly what it is. It is the opposer force, that energy from the opposer from the force, that thing that opposes, antagonizes you, pushes at you, or whatever. And like over the last couple of days, because I've been setting up lights and trying to get this new video stuff going, whatever, everything has just got so hard. Like every lead has to get tangled in other things. You move one thing, another light falls down. Just things that feel that it's way too hard, like just way too hard. And caught myself in my victim thing in it again, saying that the universe was doing this to me. Well, it's not. It's me doing it. It's like, it's me again going, look how hard it is for me. Look how hard is, the universe. Not only is it not made easy, which I'm fine with it not being made easy, but it's made super hard, extra hard for me, on me. Victim stuff. It's a tough one, and it's the only way out of it really is to take full responsibility for everything that happens in your life, whether or not it's your fault or not. Just take responsibility for it. Maybe there is an opposing force out there trying to make it worse for me, but I'm responsible for my reactions. I'm responsible for how I feel about that. I'm responsible for what I do when that happens. And strangely, when I calm down and the stress goes away from the new thing, like say recording or writing or art or anything like that, all those type of things disappear and stop happening. Funny that. So yeah, so not necessarily blowback in the sense of, it blew up my face. I did a love spell, and not that kind, a love spell, and whatever happens to people who do love spells. I don't know, that they end up falling in love with someone they shouldn't, or someone gets obsessed with them, whatever. None of that kind of stuff ever happened, but more I would be made aware of, as usual, just how shitty I am as a person, and I get over it. So yeah. So the next question is, same from Cats too. Who is your biggest inspiration in comics and graphic novels, both art and writing wise? And unfortunately, it's like it's the obvious ones. Like it's the Alan Moore, the Grant Morrison, Frank Miller, and one of the first couple of graphic novels I ever read when I was really young was Watchmen, V for Vendetta, Dark Knight Returns, Born Again, Daredevil Born Again, which is just amazing. Year One. So all that kind of stuff was my early sort of foray into comics. Alan Moore's Whatever Happened to the Man of Steel. It's a brilliant, brilliant story, brilliant, underrated, not underrated, but it's just not as well known as maybe his other stuff. Then kind of later I got into Cerebus, whatever way you want to pronounce it, and Dave Sim was such a huge influence on me on, art and his approach to comics, and the whole way he lay out pages and all that kind of thing. And it's still definitely the first 200 issues of Cerebus is amazing. Absolutely. Well, from maybe the first 25 aren't amazing, but they're good. And in the last 100 issues, I can take or leave. I've read them once, whereas I've read the other ones a number of times. Guys is all right, which is about 200 to 225, but effectively Cerebus ends at issue 200, and it more or less says that in the comic too. The rest is just, I don't know. I was going to say fodder. It's not fodder because it's still 2,000 pages, but maybe. I've a friend of mine says the last 100 issues are his favourite part of Cerebus. So, to each their own and all that. But definitely, yeah, Grant Morrison, huge influence. Not necessarily what he's written, and not, other than the Invisibles, I wouldn't be a huge fan of his actual comics. I just more his approach and how he, I'm more interested in him as a character, Grant Morrison, than maybe him as writing. Like, I thought Batman R.I.P. was terrible. Not terrible, I just wasn't into it. And a couple of other things, like Flex Mentallo's just all right. Filth is pretty good, Visible's good, We Tree's very good. But I didn't like his X-Men stuff, didn't like his Justice League stuff. I didn't read much of them, it's just... But I love like the whole Talking to God stuff that he did, that movie, that documentary. It's just brilliant, and I love his approach. So while I wouldn't necessarily be such a massive fan of his actual output, his approach really, really influenced me more than anyone else. Same as Alan Moore. His earlier stuff, I suppose, like V for Vendetta is probably my favourite graphic novel of all time. massively flawed, but just it has that place in my heart because I just remember going into my cousin's bedroom when he was away out, and I was about 10 or 11, and he had the old Warrior issues with the V for Net in black and white, and just stealing into that world, and it was just amazing. So it's has a fondness for me because of nostalgia as well as how good it is, and I thought the movie sucked. So that's personal opinion though. It's all just my opinion. And final question from Kat is, what's the last graphic novel comic you purchased? And the last I rebought Invisibles, the hardcovers, the separate hardcovers. I had got them in the trade paperbacks, but I rebought them with the hardcovers. And I didn't go for the big omnibus version because I just thought that'd be far too hard to read. And also, it was the same price as the 4 hardcovers, and you get 4 covers, which you wouldn't with the omnibus. Yeah, delighted they're printed really well, much better than the trade paperbacks I had, and delighted to have them. I also got Oeming's, Michael Avon Oeming's Alistair and Adolf, which is brilliant. That was the last, I think that probably did get that after Invisibles. But the only comic I kind of read now is Injection by Warren Ellis and Declan Shalvey, which I really, really enjoyed. I actually know Declan quite well from my comic days. He's an Irish guy. And it kind of is a modern-y type Invisibles in a sense, like anyway, if you like the Invisibles and you're into magic and stuff like that, then you really should check out Injection, because it's all about, kind of an idea was put into the world and it got out of hand, which is a fairy chaos magic kind of look at the world, whatever. So if you haven't read it, I would definitely suggest that you do read it, because it's exceptional, and the only comic I read now at the minute. The next questions come from William Updike. Good man, William. And he asks, what do I think about John Dee, and why do I not speak Enochian? And I'll tell you what I think about John Dee, is that he's a very fascinating character. And as Robbie asked on Facebook recently, he's the first 007. That was his code name or code number when he was a spy for Queen Elizabeth, I want to say. I don't know how the queens work because the monarchy in England, not being English. But yeah, he's very interesting. Seems one of these kind of autodidact, whatever that word is, where you learn things yourself. But he's also, has wide learnings in many different subjects, from like architecture, astrology, biblical things, and all that. And the whole thing about the Enochian is that I did look into it on a few occasions, and it's that anyone I know who's any kind of who has an opinion that I would listen to, are very wary of Enochian. And it doesn't seem to be that safe. Safe in the sense that the angels, or whatever they are, don't seem to have a morality that's the same as ours, if they have one at all. And don't have their own agenda, and don't necessarily have us, our best interests at heart. And it didn't particularly work out well for John Dee and Edward Kelly, who brought this system in. And even though it seems like a coherent system in that the language itself, Enochian, or Enochian, whatever way you want to say it, does seem to have a structure, a grammar, and syntax and all that. It works as a language. It's just weird, but it didn't work out well for them at all. And so if the people who brought it in, it didn't, there's that story that was interesting where people have read into it, and this seems to be what the thing is, that the angels at some point asked John Dee and Edward Kelly to have sex with each other. And that just wasn't going to happen. Like, that was just such a taboo, or they just weren't into it, whatever. Well, obviously they still wanted to follow through on doing it. So what they came up with was that if the wife swapped, and John Dee had sex with Edward Kelly's wife and vice versa, then that would be the equivalent, because that the sanctity of marriage means you've become the same person and all that. So it was a kind of a loophole to get round the whole having sex with each other and wife swapping, and it all kind of went a bit weird after that. So there's that kind of weirdness to the Enochian that just, I don't know, kept me away from it. I'm not drawn to angels. I'm not drawn to, in general, intercessory magic of any kind, and I'm not really drawn to things that a lot of people, warn you off from it. I mean, I know for some people that would be a great reason to go and do it. So if you're into it, go for it. Check out Duncan Barford's book. He scried the 38ers or whatever, and that's part of the Enochian. And so he had some interesting experiences there. Or the Satanic Bible has the 38ers as well from Enochian. But yeah, just who does speak Enochian? Is it possible to speak it? I certainly don't know. I don't think I've ever heard it. I've heard you can give an impression of it, but who knows what it sounds like, whatever. So yeah, I just not my thing. William also asks, what's the deal with Brujos? Brujo is a word that it's Brujo for a man and Bruja for a woman. I don't know if there's a non-gender one for it. And it's basically another name for magic user or witch from like Spanish. The only actually person I know who labels himself as a Brujo is Billy Brujo, and he seems cool. So what's the deal with Brujos? Billy Brujo seems quite cool from my many interactions with him. But it's someone who, as far as I can gather, it works in low magic or like sorcery, like low magic in the sense of like hoodoo or like herbalism or divination, as opposed to high magic, which is like ceremonial magic and your Golden Dawn type stuff and all that. But Brujo, I think, is kind of seen as a derogatory type, name. Definitely not flattering, but seems to be, because of that, then stolen back by people who then use it, as a positive thing. In the same way queer became, a positive kind of statement. I think last time I said that online, someone told me it isn't anymore. I don't know. I never mean to offend anyone that comes to that. I just can't keep up with it and things. Maybe Brujo is the best term in the world and one of the nicest things, but when I looked into it at one point, it was seen as a less than flattering way of saying it. It's like, calling someone, hedge witch or something like that, just something in a derogatory type sense. So what's the deal with Brujos? Go ask some Brujos. I'd say there's more of them about than I'm aware of. Probably more in the Spanish speaking parts of the world. And that's it for another podcast. Hopefully this video version turned out well, and maybe I'll do more of them like this. I just don't want people going to YouTube and just watching like a screenshot of or an image when I could just as well put a video in. But we'll see. See how it goes down and see what you think of it too. If you like this and you'd like to see more, well, I have a ton of YouTube videos. I did a vlog for 60 days. There's some stuff about 40 servants. There's other stuff about magic and all that. So you can dive into the archive and have a look there. If you want to know more about the 40 servants themselves, then you can go to the40servants.com and everything is there, and it'll show you how to use them without spending a penny. And from start to finish, all of the information is freely available. If you want to buy the Grimoire of the 40 Servants, it's on the Amazons, and if you want to buy the deck, you can go to thegamecrafter.com. And if you go to adventuresinwoowoo.com, you will find all the links for everything there. The 40 Servants, all the vlogs, all the YouTubes, all the podcasts, all the everything. The magic primers there, everything you could ever want in the entirety of the world is available on adventuresinwoowoo.com. It may not be available. I also have a Twitter, which is @TommyKelly. I've all over Facebook. There's an Adventure in Woo Woo page. There's a 40 Servants page, group even. I have an Instagram, which is Tommy Kelly as well. And if you want to help support all of this stuff, at the same time getting some cool extra stuff, like all the behind the scenes of the 40 Shadows, which is my new deck and journeying system, a divination and journeying system. And then go to tommykelly.com, which is TOMMIE, and that brings you to my Patreon, where you can sign up, and there's 4 tiers and you can decide which ones you want, and each of them have their own type of rewards that you can get with them. So if that's something you think you'd be interested in, then check it out. But feel free not to check it out. Over the next while, I'm going to be doing a 40 Servants video course, and that'll be free and on YouTube. And it'll be basically just going through the entire system of the 40 Servants from start to finish, and explaining it all in as much detail and concise and clearly as I possibly can, so that people have a good resource to go to when they want to find out more about the 47th. So until next time, good people of the internet, this is Tommy Kelly, and enjoy your week.